Have a look at this bizarre-looking tree.
Tree? I am no tree. I am an ant.
Hello, and welcome to Strange Times number 30. It's good to be back. It's been a little while. I've been busy, as some of you know, doing placement training as a AIN. And let me tell you this, that was quite an experience. It's totally different to every job I've done in the past. It was unexpectedly physically draining, as well as I was expecting to be mentally drained and maybe a bit emotionally drained, but it's actually hard work physically. I lost a few kilos, so that was something positive as well. I've got a bit of a belly. So yeah, I'm an AIN now, an assistant in nursing, that is. Anyway, enough of that. Let us begin. Haunting at the Ye Olde Boot Inn. Detective Michael Miller, a British detective who was murdered at the Ye Olde Boot Inn during the early 1900s, is said to haunt this historic old inn. Locally, the detective's ghost is known as the Inspector. The Inspector. You get it? I wrote that, man. I wrote that one. That's all me. I think that's enough of me. Alright. Let's get on to a real story. Mystery Head. Alex Boardman had been doing his washing when he saw someone inside the machine looking back at him. And check out this photo. How creepy is it? It's even got that sort of corpse grey sort of colour to it. And the eye looks real as well. It says here that on closer inspection that he realised that there was in fact a conventional explanation. He'd forgotten that he had washed the dog's blanket and a David Bowie cushion. Alright, is that Bowie's face? Give us another look. I see it now. Yeah, it is. That is Bowie's face. He looks like a corpse. Alright, so it's not paranormal, but it's funny. And it would scare you, imagine it. You gotta admit, that would give you a fright. Seeing David Bowie's decapitated head staring back at you in the washing machine. I bet you, I get the impression Bowie, if he was still alive, would love this story. And from one famous Brit to another even more famous Brit, the pork butcher. You'll see in a sec. So apparently researchers believe that they have identified the most accurate depiction of the world's most famous playwright, Shakespeare. There's been numerous depictions of him, and they're all different, and no one's really agreed on which one is him. Or, I should say, like an accurate depiction of him. Now, however, it turns out that the effigy found above his grave at the Holy Trinity Church in Stratford-upon-Avon might actually be the true definitive likeness of the late bard. So the article says, originally believed to have been an inaccurate posthumous memorial, the sculpture, once described as a, and I love this, self-satisfied pork butcher. And check it out, he really does look like a self-satisfied pork butcher. It's now thought that this effigy was commissioned by Shakespeare himself, and it was made by someone who knew Shakespeare personally. And so behold, that's what Shakespeare probably looked like. And moving on, FBI's mystery excavation. So about 3 years ago in Pennsylvania, the FBI was digging for something, and they were very tight-lipped about what it was. But recently, there's been some documents that have been disclosed, which revealed that the agency was actually trying to locate a large shipment of Civil War era gold that had been lost or stolen while it was on its way from the Mint to Philadelphia, all the way back in 1863. Apparently the FBI had received a tip-off from father and son Dennis and Kem Parada, and the FBI claimed that they found nothing of value at the site. But the Paradas believed that they did find something, and now they've taken this matter to court. So I'm assuming that the Paradas are entitled to some sort of payment, or maybe like a cut of the gold. I don't know. Because they must be, or else why bother going to all the trouble of a court case? You know, if they're entitled to it, and if the FBI really did find something and they're keeping that under wraps, then, you know, all the best of luck to them. I hope they get their money. This next story is quite interesting, actually. It's a claim from a mother who... excuse me. It's a claim that a mother has made via TikTok about a story her daughter told her regarding a memory of living through the trauma of 9/11. I'll just play the video, see what you guys think.
So on September 11th, 2019, my daughter was 4 years old. And I was scrolling through my Facebook, and there's some 9/11 memorial posts. And she just so happened to see the Twin Towers on one of them. So she points to one of the towers, I think it was the North Tower, and she said, "Hey Mom, I used to work there." And I was like, "When?" She's like, "Before." And she said that one day she was working and the floor got really hot. So she stood on her desk because the floor was too hot. And she said that her and her friends were trying to get through the door, but they couldn't open the door. So she jumped out the window and flew like a bird. Mind you, Bella has never heard about 9/11 before.
She comes across as quite credible, I think. And you would imagine that if a memory's going to survive death and then rebirth, that a memory as traumatic as that just might. And seeing those towers would, you know, you can imagine that would trigger those sort of repressed, terrifying memories. I think there is something to these past life memories that people have. I reckon we live more than once. I don't think we just die and then oblivion, that's it. I think we continue. Anyway, let's see what we got next. UFO emerges from portal. According to a Mr. Gibbons from Lancashire in the UK, quote, "On a good night, Mars and Venus can usually be seen from where I live. We've got great views out over the countryside, and on this particular night, the sky was clear and Venus had just appeared. I'm not into stargazing in a big way. I just like to look out the window and admire the sky. So I went to the patio and had a look out, and all of a sudden, this UFO came out of a portal. It was red and orange and circular. I grabbed my binoculars and got a good view of it while it hovered for a few seconds. But in the wink of an eye, it shot up into the sky and then sped off towards Skipton. It definitely wasn't a plane or someone shining a light. I had a fantastic view of it. It was like something out of a sci-fi movie." Close quote. Do you guys remember that sort of dodgy looking CGI video I posted in Strange Times number 29? The last one I just did? Well, when I say just did, it was probably about 3 months ago now. But the last one I posted. This description sounds like that, except in the CGI video, the portal and the craft was blue, and the craft was going into the portal, not out of it. And so I guess it's nothing like the CGI one at all. And it's more like the description of the portal that I keep mentioning this book, The Hunt for the SKINWALKER. And in that book, they talk about this sighting of this portal that opens up, which is sort of orange and red, and a craft comes out, zooms away, and the portal closes up. It's, reminiscent. Just sharing my knowledge. So anyway, I just want to close up this Strange Times with some information that is that I came across recently after I posted my Brandon and Tracy story. Well, it's not my story, is it? It's their story. But the one about targeted individuals and reptilians and alternate worlds and all of that crazy stuff, which we all love. And so I came across this story. I'm just getting my phone because it's on my phone. Excuse me. It's on the Above Top Secret website, and it's about this psychic. This guy who did some maintenance at this psychic's house, and she mentions all this stuff about him, and it's more and more accurate, and he's getting more and more impressed with this psychic, knowing all about him and his life. And at the end, he says this, quote, "She goes on to tell me her ex had eyes that change like a snake's eyes, and her husband of the last 5 years saved her from him, the snake eyes guy. She told me that the ex blocked all of her memories for almost 35 years, and she's known her current husband her whole life, but doesn't recall him prior to 7 years ago. She then repeats a few times to watch out for people with eyes like reptiles. They definitely exist." So take that as you will. There's another little story I've been holding on to for a little while, and in Brandon and Tracy's story they talk about these almost invisible entities, and also they kept running into these little dwarf-like, gnome-like creatures. And so I'll just quickly read this story. It's very short, and it's just another weird story out there on the web. It sort of corroborates, I guess, some of Brandon's experiences. Quote, "For this next one, I need to get you to understand something. If you've never seen the 1987 Predator film, get on YouTube and watch the official trailer. Remember when the Predator was just a distorted watery shadow against the background? That's what this next story involves. Lastly, and most recently, it was about 7 a.m., and it was 2 years ago. Hang on, my phone's ringing. We'll pick it up straight from here, because I'm not starting again. So, it was about 2 years ago, and it was at about 7 a.m. when I woke up to a strange noise in my room. It sounded like a few people having a muffled argument. I heard a noise by my dresser and looked over in time to see the watery shadow, predator style, of a creature which was about 18 inches tall, and it tripped over and knocked over a cup that was on my dresser. It was humanoid and wearing a tall pointed hat. It made an oof sound, and right after that, I heard a voice close to my ear whisper, 'Be careful.' Then I noticed them all around me. The strange predator-like shadows of 5 or 6 similar beings, all of them about the same size, and they were all around me. One even was standing on my chest. I couldn't feel it, but I could see it there. They all froze when they realized I could see them. It felt like minutes, but was probably only about 20 seconds. And then I finally said, 'I can see you.' And they all took off in multiple directions, going through objects and walls. A few of them were saying things like, 'Oh my gosh,' and 'I can't believe it,' and 'Hurry,' as they left. Since then, I've tried a few times to entice them back, leaving honey and small treats for them, but I haven't had any further experiences. I just wanted to include that there, just to bring your attention to the fact that other people do experience these weird, predator-like, semi-invisible creatures. They're definitely a paranormal category in themselves. And so I think I'm going to leave it there because I've got nothing else on my word page. And so I bid you farewell, my friend, and I'll see you next time. See ya.